Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nate back at you with some more Fortnite news. So, as you guys know from if you've watched any of my other videos, and if you're watching this first time, just to give you a brief explanation. A lot of times when I do these videos, I'll explain where my what I'm going to talk about and where my inspiration for the topic came from. Right. So today I'm going to talk about would spray weapons like the SMG balance, if they were vaulted, would they balance the game out? Right? Would that be enough to nerf aim assist? Right? And also, like, if they nerf aim assist, would that fix, like shooting somebody with an AR close range rather than a shotgun? Right? Would that fix it? Right? So what made me have this idea is there's this guy that I was debating with on Twitter. And he had said they need to nerf aim assist and vault SMGs, right? And that would fix everything. They've nerfed aim assist a little bit, but a lot of people keep saying that, the nerf was a buff, which it wasn't, right? Like, aim assist didn't get stronger. Honestly, if you want to keep it a bug, it either feels the same, or for some people it did affect some people. Some people aim assist is not as good, not as good with the the frames per se, the frames that they're playing on, right? That's a tricky question to kind of attack, and I guess I'll go back through the best way to answer is to give my personal experience with Fortnite. I've played Fortnite since Season 2, and I've always played on controller. When I first started playing Fortnite, the actual vast majority of people that played Fortnite were actually controller players, were console controller players, right? There were people that played PC, mouse and keyboard, but that was the minute compared to the amount of people that played controller. But when the Fortnite World Cup came out a couple years after the game was introduced, which was not too long ago, in the World Cup there was only like 6 controller players that even qualified, right? And that's for both solos and duos. So out of the 100 to 200 players that qualified, there was only 6 that were controller. That's less than 10%. Even though the vast majority of the community is actually on controller. So now, why might you think that is, right? Well, mouse and keyboard has certain functions that are just when you learn it, it gives you a distinct advantage over a controller player, right? That's why a lot of people switch from controller to keyboard and mouse. People don't even think about the history of how keyboard and mouse players became so dominant, but a lot of the controller players back then, some of the famous ones that you guys even know, Clicks, Booga, or Bugga, depending on who's pronouncing it, Clicks, Booga, what's his name? Was Kanata, right? They all originally started out on controller. When they started streaming, they were keyboard and mouse players, right? They all switched because they all thought that if they switched to keyboard and mouse and they got good at it, they would have a distinct advantage over a controller player. So for season after season, controller players fought when they would come up against a keyboard and mouse player, sometimes even other controller players. They were at a distinct disadvantage when it came to the mechanics of the game. You'll have these keyboard and mouse players build a tower over you before you can pop off a second shot. So what happened with a lot of controller players, and this is I'm saying from personal experience, is when a controller player would come up against them, they developed a strategy where they would hold an SMG as well as some type of fast-spraying AR in their arsenal if they didn't have grenades, right? And they would spray out the bottom of it. And then they would keep trying to reset the fight. Now, the reason why for a long time this didn't work was because controller players were so behind keyboard and mouse players mechanically that no matter what, when they would drop them, they would just rebuild back up. So for a long time, keyboard and mouse players were just smacking controller players. But then something happened, right? This is right before World Cup. They started coming out with maps, 1v1 maps, and creative modes where you could spend, excuse me, but you can spend hours in creative practicing building. So what a lot of controller players started doing is they would go inside creative and they would spend 3 to 5 hours every day just having creative build fights and just practicing 90ing the best ways to block themselves from shots and all that type of stuff in creative, to the point where despite the aim assist, they were able to fight a keyboard and mouse player and kind of hold their own with the aim assist, right? Aim assist didn't become so OP until a lot of controller players started getting so good, to be honest, right? To where mechanically there's a lot more players now on controller that can mechanically keep up with some of the top mouse and keyboard players. You have Face Way that can build better than 98% of mouse and keyboard players, right? So if they just suddenly took out SMGs and they nerfed aim assist, would that fix it? No. That is a habit that a lot of controller players have. The spray stuff is a habit. There's a reason why you see some controller players don't use it at all, right? Players like me, I practice box fighting, practiced hours in my edit courses, so I fight probably closer to what a keyboard and mouse player, and that's primarily because when I started trying to get into competitive Fortnite, I practiced to try to contend with a keyboard and mouse player. I didn't practice to contend with other controller players because when I first started trying to get into the competitive scene, I just thought I was better than the average controller player. So I was obviously practicing to contend with the input that I thought was the most dominant input, which was keyboard and mouse. I thought that was, to be honest, that's what a lot of you guys felt. A lot of keyboard and mouse players felt that way. That keyboard and mouse was the most dominant input, right? Do I think vaulting an SMG and nerfing aim assist will stop the spray? No, I don't. I think because, for one, right, yes, you have certain players that will go in and they will just fight you with an SMG. And that's it. That's annoying as can be, but in reality situation, you do have some. Do the vast majority of controller players do that? No, they don't. Right? The vast majority of controller players carry some form of shotgun in their arsenal. And normally what they do is they'll shoot with a shotgun and then switch to a spray weapon. Should they hit or miss, doesn't matter. They will switch to a spray weapon. Primarily the reason why they do that is when they switch to a spray weapon, when they shoot with a shotgun and switch to a spray weapon, that reduces the aspect of a 50-50, right? See, keyboard and mouse players, when they develop their style of box fighting and the build battles and all that type of stuff, when the keyboard and mouse, when y'all first start playing that style of fighting, which y'all played that since the beginning, but when y'all first start practicing that style, especially switching to keyboard and mouse, you guys are automatically eliminating the need for 50-50 because of the fact that You guys normally could just outbuild whoever you guys are fighting, unless you came up against another keyboard and mouse player. All right. Well, with a controller player, when Fortnite first started, all we did was 50-50 each other. Right? So, like, the fighting that y'all see y'all spawn, right? When y'all first land in the game, when y'all first drop out the bus, and y'all go to wherever y'all land at, say you land at the agency, all those fights when you first land are 50-50 fights because nobody got mats, everybody, just have whatever weapons they can find, right? And so you kill whoever's around you. Well, as a controller player, personally, I felt like that's how it always was, no matter what part of the game I'm talking about. I felt like when I first started playing the game, that every fight I would get in was a 50-50 fight. I mean, there's very little to no building involved in it. And when it was building involved in it, they were like normal, just walls to wall off shots. There was no editing. There was no box fighting, no elegant box fighting. There's no boxing people up. Yeah, I mean, there's no trap plays and stuff like that on a normal basis. It was like mostly 50-50 fights. It wasn't until about season 3, season 4, where I started like taking the game semi-serious and started trying to learn the mechanics, right? And when I started doing that, that's when I started realizing the benefit of actually outbuilding somebody. But the average controller player, season 3, season 4, while they did probably have building in the back of their mind, they weren't actively practicing it every day. They were just playing the game. So when it got around to where they started practicing, they already developed a habit of fighting a certain way, where it's always 50-50. But the spraying initially came from fighting each other, not fighting keyboard and mouse players, right? Just keyboard and mouse players developed a habit of just trying to spray through builds and stuff like that. Spraying your build. They're taking the elegant way of fighting out of the game, just spraying your builds. Now, that came from fighting keyboard and mouse, but the 50-50 fights, the shooting once with the pump and switching automatically to a spray weapon, that came from fighting other controller players. And the reason why is because, again, like just to repeat myself, not trying to sound like a broken record, but that's how most controller fights were. Where it was just a jumping around with the shotgun or jumping around with an SMG or an AR and trying to kill each other. Right? So, like, they normally carry a shotgun or some sort of spray weapon. So that's just something where they realize that they would have a distinct advantage over a keyboard and mouse player. All it takes is for you to watch you guys stream. All it takes is for a controller player to watch a keyboard and mouse player, a PC keyboard and mouse player stream, to realize that you guys suck in close range fighting. Now, I mean, if you keep it a buck, you guys suck in close range fighting, right? You guys deluded yourself into thinking that a build fight showing your mechanics shows who's a superior player. When no, that's not what it shows you. The way a person think shows there's a superior player in this game. It's a battle royale, survival of the fittest. It's a survival game. Whoever survives from start to finish, on a more consistent basis, proves they are the better players. You guys call jumping in somebody's box a brain dead tactic, right? But yet are confused on how, for some reason, more and more controller players are qualifying for these tournaments. More and more controller players are winning these cash cups. Matter of fact, just yesterday there was a solo cash cup, and most of the players that was in the cash cup were controller players. I wonder how that is. Is it simply because they're dropping, every controller player is dropping 20 bombs? No, it's not. It's just the fact that when it comes to close range fighting, a lot of control players feel comfortable close range fighting because that's how it always been. They've always had close range fighting. It's always how it's always been. Most keyboard and mouse players, while their form of close range fighting is their build fights. Master Club, but they don't know. But you guys didn't never practice what to do when somebody is more superior than you guys. You guys always practice to be the more superior builder, mechanical player, right? Most are just from natural experience, not even practicing this, just from experiencing in games where, yeah, we can win, we can 5 or 6 kills and stuff throughout the game, but a lot of controller players have a hard time winning a lot of these games because there was always somebody in that game. A few keyboard and mouse players in that game is just so mechanically much better than almost every controller player that we have a lot of experience coming against them in games and mid games, and coming up against them and feeling how it felt to be like, damn, I can't get up there. They're 3,000 feet in the air. I can't get up there. If I try to get up there, it's gonna take me some time, and they're just gonna spray down at me the whole time, right? And if they do stay on the ground, they're so superior building wise that like they make me feel stupid. They're building around me. They're building over me. They're boxing me up. All that type of stuff. We had that experience. So then it became a habit to just spray through it. All right, panic, spray through it. And before you know it, we've had so many seasons of panicking and doing that now it stopped becoming panic and it started becoming a more calculated move. All right, well, if he boxed me this way, he's going to go up top. I'm going to shoot out this wall. I'm going to knock out this wall. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to jump shoot him. I'm going to hip fire him. I'm going to flick shot him. You get what I mean? It started becoming... That started. So then when the building started, when we started getting better building wise, and our mechanics started getting a little better, then it became all right, well, what's the best way for me to get close to him? Come on, keep it a buck. How often do you see a controller player build fight, but they build fight to try to get way above you? You got the Fei Sways of the world, but that's like Fei Sway. To be honest, he's pretty much a keyboard and mouse player on controller. That's pretty much what he plays like a keyboard and mouse player. But any other player, let's take Unknown X Army. Does he do it? No. Unknown X Army build battles the best way to get closest to you. Right? Take Scoped. Scoped, same thing. He build battle just to try to get in your box. Best way to get in your box. He tries to hit you once or twice, and then he's trying to get in your box. Innocence, same thing. He hits you once or twice with a pump, and then he's gonna try to spray you down, get in your box. That it's not a coincidence that a lot of controller players play like that, and it's not coming from watching, because the first controller player we watched was Fei Sway. He was a lot of controller players' inspiration to get better mechanically, and ain't nobody play like him. Not by choice, if we can't play like him. A lot of controller players, we can't. Like, I pride myself in being decent mechanically, right? I can't do near none of the stuff that Fei Sway can do. At best, I'm mechanically, at best, about almost as good as Unknown, probably mechanically. At best. That's because he makes a lot of mistakes when it comes to edits and stuff like that, right? At best, I'm probably about like that. Probably worse, but like, I'm just saying, like, my cap is him. I can't build like... So we just developed what we thought was the best. We did what we could do with our mechanics, and we adopted our normal play style until getting better mechanically, and that's how we practice. So if they nerfed aim assist, no. A lot of control players would just adapt to the nerfed aim assist, and they would still spray. Just simply because of habit. It's just how everybody plays, how they've always played. Just, you guys didn't know. A lot of keyboard and mouse players didn't know. You probably didn't really care to even try to review that, because prior to these last few seasons, you guys have always been so much better than the average controller player that, like, it didn't matter that if that's how we play. Y'all just killed us easily. Now that y'all can't kill us easily, now y'all starting to notice, like, damn, that's annoying. Getting into a fight and all the guy has is an SMG and he sprays me down. That is annoying. I know that. But that's always been the case. I've always experienced that. I've always experienced that. I've been playing this game for about almost 3 years now. And I've always experienced that. So no, I don't think that would do anything. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think nerfing aim assist, because they're always going to have aim assist. The only way that it'll be fair for y'all is if they just took aim assist away completely, and the accuracy of all control players is just suddenly so terrible that it doesn't matter how they play. They're not gonna hit you. That's the only way to satisfy a lot of keyboard, because even if they nerfed it 75% of 100, right? That's what a lot of people nerf it down to 75%. So I guess they would look at what the power input of 75% aim assist is, and they'll make that 100%, right? That will not do nothing. The only thing that helps y'all with is those double and triple dinks from long distance that y'all guys hate. And people would still hit those. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, a good control player will still be able to hit that. Having aim assist at all will still allow them to hit that stuff, because not those triple and double, quadruple dinks are not just simply because of aim assist. The aim assist is not by itself. You don't have your hand on the analog stick at all, and it just snaps you onto them. It doesn't do that. So, yeah, no. That stuff will still happen with some of the better controller players. That would affect a lot of the mediocre average. That will affect the average controller player. But the average controller player isn't who you guys are mad at. It's the best controller players. It's the ones that you see in the cash cups, the ones that you see in the top 300, 600 that you guys are playing with. There's millions of people that play this game. So there's going to be a few thousand people that no matter what aim assist is at, if they have any aim assist, they'll adjust to it. Come on, man. Like, you got to understand, like, this ain't new to a lot of people. Shooter games ain't new to almost all control players. Everybody started off with Black Ops and Modern Warfare and stuff like that. Everybody did. So everybody have experience with shooter games. So that's not no, the close range fighting with the spray weapons will not stop, no matter what you guys. So you guys, just the best way to do is adjust for it. Stop always complaining about aim assist and control players are so brain dead. Well, if control players are so brain dead, then why are they starting to place better? That brain dead idiot that you guys are talking about, he is somehow in the top 100. You got me. You got a lot of people. My Unknown X Army is ran by aim assist. Okay, how come he was able to qualify for the FNCS on keyboard and mouse? Right? How come that? Scoped is one of the top control players. How come there's 90 control players yesterday? How come there was 160 other control players that was ahead of him? Right? Right? Because every other control player besides them and Eno and Colazzo are brain dead. Every other control player suck. They just run by aim assist. They're on the same aim assist that every control player is on. So they can use their aim assist better than they can? You can't just simply rely on aim assist. That doesn't work. Shit, Kanata can show you why that doesn't work. Even though my boy Kanata complains about it too, but if he takes a step back and just takes that and get out of his own damn head, he will see why that doesn't work. Kanata is on keyboard and mouse, and he's always at the top in these cash cups. He's always at the top in these solo tournaments over all of these controller players. I'm not saying control players are better than keyboard and mouse. I'm actually arguing the point that they're not. You guys have just denied yourself progression because you guys are just completely just blaming it on something. There's a whole bunch of keyboard and mouse players I like. Right? Man, my favorite person, my favorite streamer is Tfue. No, he's not the best player, but like Tfue is my favorite because he's close to my age. I think I'm a little older than he is, but he's around my age. The best player I think in the world is Benji Fishy. Or maybe 103's Mr. Savage or something like that. But Benji is my favorite as far as like who I think is the best. You know what I mean? If I had to go through my top 5, you know what I mean? Benji Fishy, Mr. Savage, Mongrel, Clicks. It used to be Booga, but he kind of like, Booga's fighting is like kind of, his mechanics is crazy, but his actual like shooter game sense is kind of a little iffy. You can, like, honestly, when I watch Booga play, like, he kind of gives me the vibe as Fortnite was the first ever shooter game he actually was really good at. Right? Not saying it was, but that's the vibe he get me at, because there's a lot of mistakes he makes when it comes to like just shooting and just playing a shooter game in general, right? Like, he'll shoot down and he'll peek all the way down, get to the edge of his build and peek all the way down and shoot down at somebody, right? He'll build over you and then peek over, not thinking about that that's the easiest way for, if somebody goes to the bottom of his build, they're going to have the advantage, because it's easier to shoot up than it is to shoot down. And that's just common logic. When you see get high ground, they're talking about shooting at an angle, not shooting directly down at the ground, right? And Tfue makes that same mistake, but we all know Tfue played other battle royales before Fortnite. I just think with Tfue, his is just something like he don't care. You know what I mean? But Booga, I don't know anything else he played before Fortnite, and sometimes when he plays Fortnite, he kind of reminds me of somebody just now. This was the first ever shooter game that he was ever like super good at. Not saying he wasn't decent at others, but that's the feeling he gives me when he plays. So Booga wouldn't be in my top 5. He would have been maybe a year ago, not anymore, right? And then Kanata, you know what I mean? To me, that's my top 5 right there, on keyboard and mouse at least, right? And I think all 5 of them would smack the best control players any day. I mean, not players like Unknown, because Unknown is like, as a solo player, he's like actually really, really good. So Unknown's weakness is his team play. Because the dude don't, like, mechanically speaking, Unknown's not the best mechanical player. Unknown, you can just tell he's good at shooter games. And you know, that's you know what I mean? You gotta stop complaining about it so much. Come up with tactics to defend against that. Unknown does it. When you watch him play, when Unknown sprays into people's box, Unknown will put a stair behind him and he'll go to the top of the stair and spray. So when they make that wall edit, he jumps above it and then he immediately does another run and he'll go to a different angle and keep doing that. It's very hard to spray through 3 or 4 different builds that's right on top of you. See, a lot of keyboard and mouse players, you guys are trying to rely on scroll wheel reset to take a wall and be able to reset that wall super quick, and then when they spray through it, you guys are caught off guard, because I don't know how many times a donkey got to show you the same trick over and over before you start realizing the donkey's going to do the same thing. He's just going to kick back. The reason why you haven't realized this donkey has been doing the same trick over and over again, or this dog, let's use a dog reference. This dog has been doing the same trick. He rolls to his left. The reason why y'all haven't realized that dog is doing the same trick is because y'all haven't thought about that maybe you might be making a mistake when that dog does the trick. Maybe the issue isn't the dog. Maybe it's you, right? So you can't combat against it because you're not learning from it. You're not learning from every single time they do it. You guys are just making an excuse on why it worked. You know what I mean? If you guys would analyze your gameplay, do your VOD reviews. This is what I should have done. Stop making the excuses. Aim assist, control the player. Aim assist, control the player. This is what I should have done. And then go from there. You got to be all right. You know what I mean? But thank you for listening. And please let me know. Comment. Subscribe. Tell me your thoughts. Again, I like to debate. And I'm definitely down for a reasonable debate any day. I'm definitely open to listening. And, you know, even learning from different points of views. Just be respectful, because, you know, like, I'm just not going to respond to disrespect, to be honest. But, yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you.